And hello everybody who is out there in the galaxy or around the world. I am Commander Yannick and welcome to my stream. Right, this is a little bit of a deviation from my scheduled stream, which was going to be the Gain the Tenants, but today, because I've actually got the alpha release working of Elite Dangerous Odyssey, I'll be playing some of that instead. It's taken a while for it to happen, but you know, flawed though it is, I will see what I can do with it. There seems to be a little spacecraft hanging around here. I wonder what he wants. Diamondback Explorer. But yeah, I'll be trying this out. Now that we've got Phase 2, we have spacecraft, so it seems like a good time to do this. I'm above the world of Wolf 1022 and the fourth planet there. So this little diamondback is. This world is actually a... oh, he's gone now. A thin atmospheric world. Now, as you can probably tell, the stream isn't necessarily a problem, I suspect, but the in-game frame rate is not the best at the moment. Weird thing is, it was actually better before the recent fix they did last evening, at least from the UK's time anyway. But yeah, I'm looking through night vision across the surface of this thinly atmospheric world, I correct myself. But here we are. Yeah, yesterday I encountered, not long after I'd installed this and sort of landed on this world, a wreck of some kind of crashed craft. I wasn't sure what it is. Obviously it was human, it didn't look like a Thargoid, but it was impossible to identify exactly what it was. But I'm going to gain some altitude here, go into Super Cruise, and get a better view of this world. It's I arrived in light and now it's in darkness, but I will have a look elsewhere because it seems to have a purple atmosphere. But I'm hearing reports a lot of these thin atmosphere worlds do actually have purple atmospheres too, so I don't know if it's just a characteristic of a lot of them or they all like that. But this is still the alpha test and we only have like a 20 light year bubble to deal with. So it's not certain as yet. We have a limited number of worlds we can visit due to the 20 light year limitation. So here we are. Yeah, this is like, yeah, I would say a high gravity, but I'm interested in imagination. It's like only 0.45, so it's not high gravity, but maybe even moderate. Don't know. But yeah, let's gain a bit more altitude and get a little bit further into a higher orbit so we can go faster. Hopefully into daylight so you can see the world a bit better. Now, okay, this is purely talking through the way that the alpha interacts with my particular machine, my particular PC, sort of layout, loadout, I'm going to call it. But yeah, it's the frames per second aren't the fastest on planets and around. It's just about okay, I suppose, depending on how we think okay is. But considering it's an alpha test, I will forgive it. It's they've not really optimized this yet. I did report the reduction in frames per second to Frontier, so they're aware of it now. Which is the whole point of the test, really, to report these things to the developers and in the hope that they'll get them all fixed nicely. But yeah, today, as the stream's advertised, I'm going to go around testing the more exploration mechanics of this. The in-station ones for what alpha I'm running I did previously was not that smooth. It got better, but it still wasn't great. I think there's a lot of the bigger streamers out there have these amazing, quite high-end machines, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to compete with that. Not yet, anyway. But I will do what I can with what I have, as we all do. Yeah, at the moment, there's as I say, the game essentially, in many ways, has actually like been sort of reconstructed, recoded. It looks, but there's obviously, as far as space travel is concerned, there are very few changes. There are some lighting changes, as you can tell, as we're coming across the night-day Terminator line. Yeah, and obviously the terrain generation is different to as before. Let's go a little bit closer. See, this is the world that I've been orbiting, and This is on medium settings at the moment. It's a little bit grainy in places, but it's not bad. I wonder if that will be a feature of it. Now, if you look closer to where the yellow line sort of nearly meets the surface, there's that little sort of haze there. That's the atmosphere. It is really, really thin, but you can see it. It does exist. The only sad thing is there's no sort of visible atmospheric entry, sort of plasma or swirl or sparks or fire or anything like that, really. I will try one now just to illustrate, and we'll have a bit of a look across the surface of this world. Just pick a random spot to land. It doesn't really matter where, but yeah, the terrain generation does seem a bit more sort of geographically realistic. I mean, the previous Horizons one was actually pretty good, especially on lower gravity worlds. We tend to have these sort of spectacular often canyons and mountain ranges. But yeah, it's this is different. It's broadly speaking improvement. There's slight graininess, as I say, from far out. But I don't know if that's something that they're going to work on or not. I hope so. Obviously, you've got sort of different characteristics with different layers, levels of resolution, graphics card setups, etc. Yeah, I think I'm running kind of like, comfortably beyond minimum specs for this, so it shouldn't be too problematic. Cross my fingers as I say that, but yeah, I am running above minimum specs for this, so it's to say it's not really optimized yet, and this is obviously like day 2 of phase 2 of a 4-phase alpha test, so it's not even the end of the alpha test, so yeah, it's early days indeed. I've seen quite a few comments from slightly irate commanders out there who have been sort of pointing things out, saying that, oh, this looks terrible, I'm not going to do this after phase 1. It's like, well, you don't even know what truly is going to happen yet. This is just like one phase of it. I understand if like the full game release of Odyssey doesn't meet your expectations, that's fair enough, but it's not really like that much of a sample to pick from. I mean, it's an incomplete alpha test, and an alpha test itself, you shouldn't necessarily judge a whole sort of DLC based upon that. But here we are, the edge of a crater. See the purple haze over there. The atmosphere, I think it's quite good actually. Yeah, it's the atmosphere isn't supposed to be very thick, so unsurprisingly, sort of tenuous. But that's as advertised, so I'm not surprised. I'll also show the auto landing system here in this area that I've picked out. It seems because of auto land, the ship will actually now land in places it previously wouldn't. Any of you who have landed at any point in Horizons know how notoriously picky the landing computer can be in selecting its locations. Like, I'm in a smooth area, why aren't you letting me land? The little blue illumination isn't showing up, and you think, well, why is this happening? Why is it being so picky? It's like, and then if you go to your SRV and dismiss the ship and then recall it, the ship will often land in places in Horizons that you can't land with the normal landing computer, So it's like a very weird thing, but now it just seems to have, that discrepancy does seem to have been solved. We're letting it go around now. And we'll approach the site. See, there's some minor pixelation down there, that's not ideal. And there's a weird sort of grid pattern here too on the landing scanner. Again, not ideal, definitely something that needs to be worked on. Yeah, see what the landing computer can do with this one. See if it can land here. I'm just going to pull to a hold and see what it does. I've released the controls and it's now doing auto land. See, this is not a smooth piece of terrain. I don't think in Horizons I could realistically have set down, or if I could, it would take quite a while to align my spacecraft and get the landing computer to coax it into accepting the landing. Almost like a meter at a time kind of descent. I think a lot of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's kind of like micro-maneuvering now and it's landing. But I'll go to external camera to give a quick look around the new terrain. And to have a look to see what is around. Yeah, as I say, this could definitely be smoother. This definitely could have better frame rate. But yeah, I don't quite get is how they've managed to actually slow the frame rate in the fix that they put. Then again, you never know how sometimes these fixes will affect other parts of the software, other parts of the game. But here we are, right at the edge of a crater, looking out. You can't quite see the crater properly from here, but we're sort of on a rise on the edge of a crater in the lovely classic Cobra Mark III. The classic elite ship. The only one to be in every variant of elite. See, the actual terrain close up is of high quality. I will definitely confirm that. The sky is... I think it's good. Yeah, it's supposed to be a tenuous atmosphere, so I didn't really expect clouds or anything particularly sort of detailed, but it would have been nice if there had been like, something like that. But then again, I think on the thicker atmosphere planets there's bound to be sort of weather formations, and that's more complex. I like the fact that obviously the atmosphere is illuminated, around the sort of halo around the star like that. That's nice and realistic. And the various nebulae and bits of the galaxy in the background is we're all used to seeing. Yeah, might zoom in a little bit closer. Actually, I think I'll gain some altitude with the camera to see if I can see that the crater formations nearby more accurately. Anyway. Not so much, but. Yeah, this is not a particularly sort of undulating piece of terrain. It's moderately flat, fairly flat. Yeah, I haven't seen a serious mountain range yet. I've seen what we describe maybe as like hills, or a range of hills probably on this world, but not much else, I'm afraid. Okay, what I will also do is I will quickly get in and out of the spacecraft on foot, which is obviously the whole point of sort of space legs, and here we are. So I might as well demonstrate that. I don't have any spare energy packs on me at the moment, so my time on the surface is going to be strictly limited to the one energy pack. I've noticed on my previous trial with it, it's not oxygen there's ever the problem, it's always the energy pack. Which is just the way it is. Let's say I don't have a huge amount of running time with this suit, or just walking around the station. I have a little bit.
Detected.
It's low temperature. But not low enough that I can't be let outside, so here we are. Yeah, as you say, it's not, the frame rate is not brilliant, it's not the smoothest, but I'm hoping that will improve in the near future. Now, the first observation, putting my Apollo astronaut head on, is these, I don't know what you would call like mineral deposits on the rock here, this sort of green stuff. I wonder what that's supposed to be. Is that some kind of copper oxide, maybe, copper ore? Interesting, it's got that kind of colour to it. Although I'm not a geologist, so yeah. I do like the extra details on the rocks. I think the ones that don't have that sort of turquoise kind of, I don't know, outcrops on it, outgrowths, whatever you want to call it. This other larger, sort of more normal looking rock, it's just the details where it's like granite, doesn't it? It could well be granite. So there's the lovely Cobra. I will climb around this rocky area a little bit. I won't go too far from the craft, as I say. But this is more of demonstration than anything else. And I say I don't have as present a huge amount of experience in out in the suit, out on the terrain. It's like Apollo 14 all over again. Apollo 14 is the the Apollo landing mission on the moon that actually spent the most time walking around on foot. They didn't yet have the lovely rovers that they had, the little buggies to drive around the surface, so they basically had to walk everywhere, and they walked very, very long distances for someone in space. I think definitely the longest anyone's ever walked on another world to date. And it exhausted them somewhat. I don't think NASA actually anticipated how hard it was going to be walking for such long distances across a terrain that was, should we say, not entirely well mapped. I mean, obviously there was orbital satellites that had actually landed. So there had been probes that had done some mapping of the surface, but it's not in the kind of high resolution we have now. So their maps weren't that accurate. They were just very sort of vague topography indications of sort of where they were, and that was part of the problem. They found navigation very hard because I think part of it is because the human brain, is obviously evolved in under a sea of nitrogen and oxygen, being the atmosphere, quite a thick atmosphere that we have, and so that causes, obviously, light to act in a certain way. And on the moon it's a bit different because there is no atmosphere, and our brain doesn't adapt so well to these to seeing things and working out distance by the sort of reflected light from the moon. They found it hard to judge distances, and this was part of the problem as well. And I think all the missions had this problem, that judging distance was actually very, very difficult. Obviously these days, I mean, you have like lunar GPS from an orbiting satellite. When Artemis goes to the moon, this is going to be what's happening, so it'll help their navigation. I'm pretty sure I read that in the last few years, but yeah, it's that would make a lot of sense. Plus, the resolution of the photos is so much better now, and they've got many nations that are all contributing to it, not just the US, not just the Russians, Soviet Union back in the day, doing all these things. Yeah, so back to where I am, but apart from my Apollo 14 impressions, the graphics I think are actually pretty decent. I do like them. I say the frame rate definitely could be better, but that I don't know how much of that's just code, it being not optimized, and how much of it is my machine. I suspect it's probably a lot of code optimization problems. My machine isn't the best, but I don't have it on the highest settings, and it is substantially more than the minimum spec, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, this is definitely work in progress, and it would be wrong to harshly judge a work in progress. I mean, just as a game, as now in the 20 light year bubble, this alpha I find fine. It's far from perfect, but I think it's a good step. It's for space legs on this sort of alien world. I find it happily refreshing, especially with obviously all the extra little details here. And this is the first atmospheric world I've landed on in Elite, so I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. I know there have been all kinds of issues with the more sort of first-person shooter kind of missions that people have been doing. Now, that's totally understandable because, that's a whole sort of sub-game in its own right, really, isn't it? And that's still, there's lots of issues there to be ironed out. But I'm talking at the moment from a sort of like broad game perspective, and more specifically as an explorer. I mean, there are slight issues also with the FSS scanner, but those I'll get to later today. And they're not like severe problems, but the things that I hope will be changed. Thank you, Commander Elemental Forces, for your follow. Much appreciated. Thank you to everyone else who's followed the channel recently, also including Commander Bad Cops. But follows always help the channel, and they're free, and that's why I encourage people to follow this channel and whichever other channels that you like. I do the same myself. The various Elite channels on Twitch, and other gaming channels for that matter, I follow too. So just because it is a free and easy way to help sort of support the channel and support the creators. But yeah, I mean, the details in this are excellent. I mean, you say the halo around the sun over there is kind of reminiscent of pictures we see on Mars, except for obviously that's like an orangey sky, and this is a sort of purplish kind of sky. So it's to be expected, but it's a very realistic detail, and I do like that. As you see, like the bottom left-hand corner, there's the oxygen meter at the very bottom. That's still on 100, and the power meter is on 56. I think also out of 100. So yeah, that goes down much more quickly. I think you need spare power packs for those, and I will gain those in the near future, so I can do sort of these longer runs. Yeah. Funny enough, I don't think even the Apollo era spacesuits run out of power that quickly, but these are quite sort of, minimalistic and quite lithe suits in comparison. They're almost like cat suits in the way they sort of fit the bodies of the commanders in the game. So yeah. I will do a little bit more walking around, then I'll return, because I say that my power is actually not that great. So, but yeah. See, going in close there to these rocks, there's no sort of breakup, no pixelation, so that looks fine. I'm going to try and jump over this one. The jump is not working. He can't jump over there. Yes, my commander's a he in this one. It's just I've gone with Commander Yannick again, even though I could have gone with another commander name. It would have been confusing as hell. Especially considering I'm streaming this all now, so yeah, it would have been funny, but a little bit confusing. Let's look out here over the sort of plain in that direction. I mean, obviously, the more realistic this gets to various sort of geography of planets, alien worlds, even our own world for that matter, the better I think it's going to be. And there's just the more things to take in within the Elite universe, more things to find out, more things to be scouted. I mean, say I found a crash site yesterday pretty easily, and I will look for other things on planets today and beyond. But those are all good indicators of sort of more content for the future. Obviously, as an explorer, I am sort of looking mainly towards that kind of angle. It's like we'll know in time what the Odyssey update brings to when the future phases of Alpha are expanded. Like by the time we get to Phase 4, I think we'll be able to have a greater range of spacecraft and be able to fly 50 light years from the 50 light year bubble. And I think most of the features will actually be in game by that point, and I think that's the plan anyway. Obviously, we'll see how the rollout goes. But as always, I always try to provide constructive criticism and feedback wherever possible. I say in the past, I've always been one of these people. It's like I'm not going to slag something and just say it's terrible. I'm always going to try and give positive, constructive criticism. It's like with anything in life, it's like if you're making mistakes or you're going wrong, how is anyone going to correct them? If they don't know the details, or maybe they're not given advice. I mean, I'm sure that Frontier probably have a lot of ideas of their own of how to fix various issues, but people need to tell them that they're wrong in the first place. But constructive criticism is always a thing, and that's the way I've always tried to approach Frontier development. It's like I appreciate the work they do overall. I like it. I wouldn't have played as much if I didn't like it. This is always the way. But it's. I think most people generally in life are okay with constructive criticism, because a sense of you are at least trying to help. Even if you don't necessarily agree with their constructive criticism and the remedy of the problem, you're at least look like you're coming from the right place. You're coming from a very genuine place. You're trying to help. But it's always better to be that way. I think I'm going to board now. I don't want to be stuck over there and end up dying. But I know you don't really die in this, but I think you become injured. Had you rescued by a MIDI ship or something. I might try that to see what actually happens. But now I'm going to reboard. Actually, that's not how I do it, is it, in this? This is the thing. There's always slightly new controls to remember. Board. Yes, please. And I'm boarding. Excellent. hear that sort of, yeah, the sort of footsteps in the background, even in the darkness. That's an interesting touch. But that's the thing about the Frontier's sort of approach to Elite Dangerous generally, is that the graphics are generally very good. Sometimes, every now and then, not so much, but generally good. But the sound design and the sound engineering is always, the recordings themselves have always been really, really high grade. The voice acting, the sound effects, everything. I mean, that's one of the things that even people who've been very critical of Elite have always mentioned, that, yeah, the sound is almost universal praise for that. So that's one thing that has always been right, I think. Whoever's in charge of Frontier's sound department knows exactly what they're doing. Remember, I don't know if anyone saw this in the past, there was that footage, I think, when the Thargoids were reintroduced back into Elite, that they actually sort of showed how they were getting the various sounds in a recording studio, and one of them was someone playing a bassoon, and it was like, then there was the electronically altered it by putting various effects on it to make it sound bigger and more powerful and kind of alien. But then the obvious comments like, Thargoids play the bassoon? Yes. Still, I'm going to have a little bit of a fly around. I'll leave this world and try and find another one. Preferably an atmospheric one. It doesn't have to be atmospheric, though. But to say, like, the only mild criticism I have at this point, or something that maybe I expected, maybe that's my own personal expectations, but of entering the atmosphere of even a world with a tenuous atmosphere like this, there would be some kind of entry effect, even if it was just a bit of sparking and a small amount of plasma. I don't know if you've seen the footage of either a space shuttle or the Gemini or Apollo capsule sort of re-entering the atmosphere, and the sort of plasma that sort of swirls around the edges of the spacecraft as it goes back through Earth's atmosphere. And that's bound to happen. Obviously, on a world with less atmosphere, it's going to be less dramatic because there's just less gas there in the first place to provide that resistance. But still, onward I fly, on we go into the unknown. Well, not really the unknown, it's still the bubble, isn't it? It's still a section of the bubble, but it's unknown in terms of this is an alpha test of a whole new era. Yeah, I'm just climbing on thrusters for now, just to get a bit of a view out here on this crater where I was. The Apollo 14 thing also reminded me of a place called Cone Crater, which was their target of this very long walk. They didn't actually make it to the edge of the crater, again partly because of, well, mostly because of navigation problems and not having very accurate maps, and they got to the point where they had to make a decision to either, do local geology or keep pushing on to Cone, and they were just exhausted by this point, having done some very sort of zigzag traverses across the lunar terrain. Yeah, it would be nice if they'd got to Cone Crater. I think the sad part is they got achingly close, like about 20 meters nearby, but they couldn't actually see the sort of rim of the crater because it was obscured by some rocks. But yeah, it's rather sad actually that they got so near yet so far and didn't quite make it. Okay, let's have a look at the system map to get some idea of where we are. Yeah. The new system maps is a slight change on the old ones, more to do where the sort of controls are on the left hand side, and they sort of halos around various worlds. If I was to click on this other world here, planetary information, there's an argon-rich atmosphere. These halos all seem to be indicative of an atmosphere. Seems pretty straightforward. That's an argon-rich one. Don't want market information. No, thank you. Description, yeah, here we are. So that argon-rich one is 0.74 G, 0.4 Earth masses, etc. But I say it's an argon-rich one. We can't land there at the moment. This other world here, tightly locked to the star apparently, and this is also argon-rich. Move on to planet number 3. A lot of argon-rich atmospheres here, but I don't think these are landable within Elite Odyssey. See the indication that you can land on a world, for those of you who aren't au fait with way Elite works. See this sort of blue line where the cursor is that goes around the outside the little blue halo? That usually indicates a world is a landable world, whether it has an atmosphere or not. Yeah, this one has a nitrogen atmosphere. It's not. They say only one system, so one planet in this system is actually landable, and it happens to have an atmosphere, which is good for the test. See, there's some stations over here for rearm, repair, etc. But I am going to go to the Galactic Map now to look further afield. See what lovely places can be visited in this micro bubble of 20 light years. You see, this at the middle here is where the spacecraft resides. That little white icon. Yeah, that is the center of this bubble where you originate from. And I can fly to other systems. I'm going to try and click on just a random place. Okay, 4.9 million independent system. Let's actually, should I go here or not? Yeah, I'll go there. Okay, power play details, stored ships. So yeah, all this information is necessarily unknown to me. It's just the way it's being arrayed now. In some ways, it's an improvement. In some ways, it isn't. But as with most things, it swings and roundabouts. You gain some, you lose some in terms of functionality. Yeah, I don't have system data on that one, so I'm going to have to just fly there. And I'll do some scanning, so we'll see that in play. Okay, let's return to deep space. As I say, the actual space flight seems to be pretty much unchanged. Seems to be straightforward, looks very similar, nigh on identical in most respects to Horizons and even the base game. I know there's slight changes in the lighting, slight change in shading here and there, but I'm looking at the actual cockpit layout, the basic arrangement of everything seems to be pretty much the same. So this is the most, I think the space elements are just a continuity, maybe a slight refresh, but the differences are very minor. Only very subtle differences, really. Overall, it's about, what, 98% the same, probably. Something of that order, anyway. And welcome to anyone who's just joined us. I'm Commander Yannick, and we are exploring in Elite Dangerous Odyssey Alpha. Now, this is interesting. The new hyperspace witch space cutscene, I suppose, is the best thing you could call it, because it does seem to be the same every time, but it's more complicated than the previous one, and I think I like it more. It's slightly more trippy looking. I'd be slightly concerned about people with photosensitivity in terms of epilepsy, things being triggered by this, but yeah, it's pretty spectacular though. I do like it a lot. Because of the streaks, it maybe there's a great sense of speed or progress as well happening through this. Also, another thing that seems to be different is once you enter the system, the sky seems a bit blacker, so maybe it's to do with the lighting system being changed. I'm going to quick honk at the discovery scanner to see what's out there. 28 bodies in the system. Okay. Doing my explorer thing, I'm going to now look to use the FSS scanner once I've gained enough distance between myself and the star, because I don't want anything obscuring it. Okay, that should be fine. Content discovered already, but let's just go through these anyway, just to see. Century Hub, to spectral analysis, yeah. Now the background I don't mind, that's fine. This sort of wave, if you want to call it, that creeps across the screen, or these little sort of circles. It's like, I don't mind that once in a while, but it seems to be almost omnipresent. It's a bit distracting. I mean, I understand maybe when it first turns on it wouldn't be so bad, but you know, it's just a bit annoying otherwise. I think I might report that to Frontier as well. Yeah, all this seems to be discovered already, but the other things that aren't the stuff I wouldn't usually bother scanning for, actually, which is transient signal sources. Yeah, convoy dispersal pattern. Exactly. These are identified signal sources that. Yeah, I maybe if I was looking specifically for USSs, I might go to the scanner here, but usually if I'm going through a system, I don't tend to bother with either asteroids or these different emissions areas. But yeah, I seem to have scanned those things in the system. I'll try and find a system where I haven't actually scanned everything, or hasn't really been scanned. Yes, I think I'll exit that. Okay, let's have a look at the system then. Okay. Couple of fairly ordinary stars. Red dwarf type. Oh, we have a planet here. Let's have a look at it. Carbon dioxide. Bit like Mars in that case. Not mad information, so I keep clicking on that by mistake. Description. Okay, this is interesting. Higher gravity, 1.64 G. Pretty warm though. 1900 Kelvin. About 1700 degrees C-ish. But it's tightly locked to that star, the brown dwarf there. I don't think it's landable, this one, no. It doesn't have that. It's a volcanic world though, so high metal content with volcanism. You can see the sort of red patches there. Could add to bookmarks or target it. I could indeed do those things, but I focus on it. Planetary information. Aura review. I'll look at that in a little bit. System information. Low security. Okay, fair enough. I'll zoom out slightly further. Are there any landables here that are atmospheric or non-atmospheric for that matter? There's some here. This one is a non-atmospheric world. See, this is the difference. Like, you see the blue sort of semicircle over this one, but there's no sort of halo surrounding it like where my cursor just moved to now, that other one that does have the sort of blue halo surrounding it, indicating an atmosphere. And these other ones down here, these other landables in orbit of the gas giant where my cursor is right now, don't have an atmosphere. I will try and land on some of those soon as well. I just want to find somewhere else that has an atmosphere and I can land on it too. Yeah, all these have atmosphere but aren't landable, so that's all fine. Just interested to see what the system has to offer. I think I'll move on to a different star system actually. So there's a place that is ripe for discovery. Okay, this is the middle of the bubble, so there's probably not many places to ripe for discovery, but this looks interesting. No population. Red dwarf. Might be a good place to look for FSS scanning. Okay, let's go. Biscuit sector. Assume named after the constellation Pisces, as seen from the Earth. Trying to work out if this is completely a cutscene or if there's any sort of uniqueness about the new sort of witch space animation. I think it's a cutscene still. I don't think it's generated. I'll have to look at it again, to be sure. Okay, Discovery Scan, what do you have for me today? 19 bodies. Okay. As always, they say you have to really move away from the star by at least a fair distance, so that your FSS scan doesn't get obscured by the star, because it can't see through the star, you see. So I've gained some distance now, and I will engage the FSS scanner. Okay. Now this genuinely needs scanning, that's good. I will start, as I often do, with gas giants, because a lot of things revolve around gas giants. Planets, and you find stations as well doing the same, but yeah, you often find planets there, so let's start with the gas giants. Class 1 gas giant. Hydrogen and helium. Not unexpected. Right, then I'll move on to other bodies and see what the bodies we have in the system first, actually. Just those are asteroids, I don't really care about those. Rocky bodies, ice bodies. Yeah, it doesn't look like the most exciting of systems, but yeah, I'm going to persevere nonetheless. Yeah, interesting the way they've got these sort of systems that add up that sort of gridded globe. Like, that wasn't like that before. They showed a picture of the actual planet. Now it seems to be a picture with a grid superimposed upon it. That's a little bit of a change too. I don't know if I like it or not. I'll come back to that one definitely. Just to look more scientific, I suppose. That's the theory, at least. Yeah, all these icy bodies look pretty similar to each other, at least on the scan. Okay, keep going. In any system, there's bound to be a fair of these icy bodies or rocky bodies around. One or the other, or both. They're very common throughout the whole of space. I don't think there's any more of these icy ones in this place. Further afield, probably. There we go. There I go, I should say. Water geysers, methane-rich atmosphere. Probably not a place I can land at, unfortunately. No, unfortunately, there's not a reason. Okay, I'll continue to look for these icy bodies. I said there's some here, but I couldn't find them. Not everybody found those. No, that's not that. I'm going to zoom out slightly further. Oh, here we are. If you're actually out in the black exploring, sometimes you make a decision whether you want to actually bother with the whole system or not. If you've actually got like some nice worlds that you've scanned, like high metal content worlds with nice atmospheres on them, potentially terraformable candidates and water worlds and even Earth-like worlds. Sometimes I wonder, do I really need to scan all these sort of 10 a penny ice and rocky worlds that don't really give me much sort of scan money or any real interest otherwise? I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the ice worlds can be beautiful places, definitely. But in terms of scanning, it's not always worth your while. I mean, I will try to scan everything in the system, but if I'm in a hurry, I won't necessarily always do that. It is very variable, very dependent on what's going on at that time. Okay, I've scanned all those. icy bodies over here. Slightly different kind on the scanner. Yeah, I'm not dwelling on them because they're so common. Alright, so we'll just keep going. Apparently there's one here somewhere. Aha.
System scan complete.
Bingo. Finished. And let's look onto the system map now. A complete system map after our successful FSS scan. Right. This looks, yeah, it's an uninhabited system anyway. I knew that coming in. That's why I came here. And you see these worlds definitely have atmospheres, and this one little moon here does not have an atmosphere. The moon is landable. But the main body is not. Now, on the other hand, these little moons around the gas giant are also all landable. And the sad things at the moment is that this slightly more interesting looking ringed ice world doesn't actually, while the small atmosphere isn't landable at present. Let's click on that to see what information we can find. Yeah, it has an atmosphere and more than one Earth gravity. Planetary information. Ah, helium atmosphere. Intriguing. So it seems to be mostly like helium atmosphere and ice and rock. I don't know how much that's helium ice. It's an interesting thought. Helium is actually relatively common in the universe as an element. It's just on Earth it's not common. Hence its rarity value. I will try and find another interesting landable. I could use this one, I suppose. If it's not too far out, I will probably try. Just to see what it's like. Okay, actually what distance is this? It's not insanely far away. I think I would go to another system though. Quicker access. Right, Galactic Map. It's taking a while for the Galactic Map to come up. Always when things go wrong, remind yourself it's only an alpha test. It's not the full thing yet. Nanko. Maybe I'll go there. Do I have a system? No, I don't have system details on it already. It could be interesting. This is the thing, this is obviously a small sectioned off part of the bubble. See, the devs themselves at Frontier do have like probably the whole galaxy at their disposal, but that's their prerogative as devs, isn't it? Discovery scanner. Let's have a look at the results. This is the thing, you can get some idea of a system from the Discovery scanner, especially if it's inhabited already. That'll give you a good amount of information. If it's not, then you may have to scan it more. But yeah, here for example, we've got some nice stations, landable worlds all over the place. Yeah, I will pick one of these to land on. Let it load up. It says loading simulation at the top, so yeah, it's loading up the different planets. Yeah, hopefully this will be streamlined and optimized by the time it comes around to the full release. Come on, come on. Here we are. I think it's loading up enough. I'll try and land on this world here. So target that. Cruise to it. This is the closest, or one of the closer moons to a gas giant, so I'm hoping to get some nice views out of it. Okay, actually another thing you notice, see that little triangle there, or sort of square I should say, on its side. That's another ship, but these are much less bright in this version of Elite than they were previously. It's probably a good thing, because I think one of the complaints that people in VR frequently had was that those lights were blinding. Especially you have a bunch of them. Let's say you meet up with a bunch of commanders, or you're just in a very heavily populated system, there's a lot of ships flying around. Yeah, you might get a lot of those lights and not be able to see anything, really. Also, people were blinded by stars on entry. So it's like, it's very good, Elite in VR, that I understand. I don't personally have it, but I know a lot of people who do. Heard a lot of reports about it. So yeah, that makes sense to make these objects less bright. Because a lot of the spacecraft, you could just see them so far away, it was ridiculous. Sometimes they were actually brighter than the star. Yeah, it's funny though. Okay, let's approach this planetary body. See what there is. Now, in this, yeah, I'm going to sort of put my explorer's hat on and see if I can find interesting looking features or places that I can investigate. As you do if you're an explorer, looking for features. You keep looking for canyons, mountain ranges, places where those two meet if you can. Unusual formations, just even interesting colorations, something that are sort of eye-catching or out of the ordinary. Sometimes even like large craters can be very interesting. I'm going to go slightly further down in a minute. Which of these areas am I going to land in? I'm looking at the moment, to be fair, for anything that looks like it might be a mountain or a mountain range, just to see how the new sort of geological generation is going to affect these kind of places. Looks like there's a mountain down there. I may go there, looking for a mountain range, but I haven't found one yet. Yeah, that mountain looks perfectly good. I think I'll go there. There's some like foothills beneath it. Are they foothills? I don't know how high that actually is, but it stood out anyway, so it seems to be a very reasonable place to start. There's a sort of depression ahead near the horizon. I might look at that later. But it's a good place to start, I think. Good a place as any. This thing being an air as well, I don't obviously expect any particular effects for it beyond the standard. Yeah, this looks pretty much like the normal glide that you get towards an airless world and horizons. Very little of it seems to have changed. Yeah, this looks a pretty steep mountain actually. cool. Fortunately, I don't have an SRV at the moment. I just have a spacesuit, and that's it. I might try and buy an SRV if I can. I know you can buy them here in the game. Sometimes going on the side like that, or this angle, is good for observation. The name of that green sort of substance encountered on the moon. It was, I think, olivine is the name of it. Those of you who have geological knowledge greater than mine will probably point this out. I assume because it has that sort of olive green colour to it. Yeah, I'll see if I can try and land on top of this mountain here. I will try and land in a second. I just want to get somewhere vaguely realistic to do so. See, I don't know what the limitations are of the new landing computer, but I'm going to pick somewhere that looks okay. Here seems fine, actually. Actually, I'm going to move forward slightly just in case I can find somewhere slightly better. But I haven't got a huge amount of choice on the top of this mountain. It's not the biggest area. But it's good knowledge for like future exploration, where you can land on the tops of mountains more easily. Because in the past, only recalling a ship could ever get, or yourself off the top of a mountain. I think I'll land here. This looks as viable as anywhere. Over this place. Okay, we'll let it do its thing. Go ahead, landing computer. Show me what you've got. Ah, no valid air for auto landing. Interesting. It won't accept that. Very interesting. First one I've encountered like that. Okay, so if I move around a bit. It's not accepting it. Interesting. So, the landing computer will accept it, but not the auto landing computer. You see the little blue, sort of highlight down there. I'm going to try and manually land this now. Ooh, didn't want to click. Okay. Now we're back to the old landing computer, are we? Excellent. Picked it up again. 14 meters. Lost it again. Sometimes it's like a very specific area that you have to be exactly within to land it. And I've got it. I haven't spent nearly 4,000 to 5,000 hours in the black exploring for nothing. And I'm down. Right. Let's have a look where we are. On top of a mountain, I know, but details. Yeah, it's not the biggest of worlds, but it's interesting in its own way. The little Cobra Mark III, all alone in the middle of nowhere. It's not in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a bubble, but the nearest person is at least probably, thousands of kilometers away. I like that. That's very cool. So yeah, the variation in geology does seem to be greater. It's not just these sort of olivine looking rocks. The very fact that I can actually even begin to identify them as olivine is a step forward. Because there's just something. I mean, to be fair, I don't have any actual geological training. I have picked up bits and pieces in my interest in real life space exploration through like not just Apollo, but Voyager, Cassini, etc., etc. The various Mars probes, etc. Or maybe describe not just geology but exogeology. If that's the right term. I wonder if Frontier deliberately did actually try and model these worlds upon sort of realistic real world kind of rock formations, or not, or just a case that did something that looked cool. Be interesting. So I know Frontier generally try to make things as sort of realistic as possible in as many aspects of their software as they can. See, that's interesting. See that mountain range nearby. From the distance, it look like foothills, but they are probably, some of them are hills, but some of them are probably big enough to be mountains. Obviously, this one's definitely a mountain because it's up here. I might get out, but then again, there's that bit right in front of me that looks like I might actually fall off. Actually, yeah, I might fall the way down the mountain if I'm not careful. That'll be very interesting on the stream, though, for a lot of people, I'm sure. Yes, come on, Yannick plummets to his death on a mountain. Yeah, that would be amusing. You gotta laugh, really. Yeah, I like that view. I think I might take a photo of it as well. One thing I will say is an improvement, these high resolution screenshots. On a lot of graphics card it causes sort of weird flickering effect when you take a high resolution shot. But in the alpha now for Odyssey, it doesn't do that, which is good, it's progress. There's a light flicker at the end there, but it's like one frame or something. But yeah, as always, the name of the game is Whole Alien Worlds. Barely touched by humanity. It's even more amazing when you're in the middle of nowhere. When you're literally like the nearest, even the nearest player is probably, thousands of light years distant. You're the only person there. Maybe in a system that you've never been to before and no one else will ever visit. Even if the game was around for another 100 years, no one would probably visit it just through statistics alone. And it really is that big. What was the stat that if at this rate, how long would it take players to explore the whole simulated Milky Way galaxy of Elite? It's like, what was it, hundreds and hundreds of years. If it was around that long. So it's genuinely amazing. But welcome to the world of Elite. That's why people are interested, and that's why people do this. I know there's lots of other cool things like racing and PvP and many other events, but yeah, it's the depth of space, isn't it, that draws people in. Yeah, for the cam view, it's not bad. The frame rate's not the best, but it's viable. And it's not embarrassingly bad or anything. I've had definitely more issues with stations and like frame rate and resolution. See, the detail, the resolution in these frames are fine. That is passable. That is a viable kind of game. It's not like cutting edge, but I said that this is not on the highest setting, so I'm not showing you the sort of top end, sort of ultra levels of detail and resolution, etc. within this particular Elite product. But I'm just showing you the sort of medium level settings which I have on, because not everyone's going to be playing in Ultra. Not everyone's going to have the top machines to be able to run this. The sort of high-end graphics cards that can do all those sort of Ultra settings with ease. I mean, just because you can do Ultra settings in, let's say, Horizons doesn't mean that'll necessarily be Ultra and as smooth in this. It really depends on how powerful your card is. I say it's not really optimized yet either, but in terms of the actual graphics, detail, resolution, etc., I'm perfectly okay with this. All the spaceflight elements of it and the planetary elements of it so far, I am completely satisfied. For medium resolutions, like medium settings, the stations are still a bit sort of iffy. I mean, the frame rate is not that good, and the actual level of detail seems to be a bit low. I'm talking about like level of detail on quite an old game, about like a 20-year-old game or something like, and I'm not knocking this game because I really love it. It's something like Quake 2, you know, is that kind of level of detail. I was thinking that you should really have better settings than this. I mean, I know it's a new element to a new DLC to an existing game, and if essentially it's like, yeah, it's a completely brand new part of it. But even then, even though this is an alpha, it still should be a bit better than that, I would have thought. I mean, there's lots of like FPS games at the moment that I can download from the last, 10 or 15 years that have better graphics than that does. But as I say, this may be a temporary thing. It may well be optimized and it may be good in the near future, but I'm just reporting what I've seen today. I haven't actually been around the stations much since the Phase 2. I just literally got my ship and left and started on with the real meat of what I'm doing, which is this. I am within the elite sort of universe, primarily an explorer, as are a lot of people. It's by Frontier's own game survey, sort of player-based survey. The explorer community is the biggest community in Elite. A lot of people were actually surprised by that. Maybe not the exploration community so much, but I think the exploration community was surprised of how big it actually was. Not they were the biggest, but by the margin that they were, because other PvP people assume that they were the biggest, but they're not. And I think the fact that the PvP community often are better lobbyists or better at actually getting publicity for what they want and what their sort of requests are, their demands even in some cases. But I think the exploration community tends to be a bit sort of by nature quieter and more sort of, less likely to rock the boat kind of section of the community, so it tends to be less strong in coming forward and asserting itself. But I think that did change over time, though. I mean, it's less so than it used to be. I think a lot of things were sort of, by constructive criticism, kind of changed over time, and there were some exploration sort of centered updates, and some people were concerned, understandably, that Odyssey might not have really any significant exploration content in it, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there are some the new sort of life forms that have been encountered that are good basis for further exploration. Now this looks like an interesting picture. The gas giants are popping up over the horizon. I'll zoom out a bit further, I think, with this. Now that's a nice picture. Excellent. But yeah, it's always changing, always dynamic. I mean, it's always been said throughout the elite sort of gaming sphere, sort of community, that it is a vast and complex, highly complex kind of game overall, as in like it's easy to start playing in many ways, but it's a hard game to master. I mean, yeah, there are some sort of hoops you have to jump through, and there's some very good tutorials though these days to help beginners. I mean, say it's not the easiest game per se. It's not like super easy to sort of fly around initially and do things like that. But I think that's part of the reason. Also, it's a very good and positive step having space legs, so you don't actually have to have a spacecraft to go out and explore the galaxy. You can get a taxi service, you can get a commander to pick you up and drop you off somewhere. You can do combat missions, different bits of the galaxy, so on and so forth. So you can see things without owning a spacecraft, and then you get your own spacecraft and do your own thing. So you can see the wonderful sort of elite galaxy, even without the spacecraft, because that was always something that put a lot of people off, because there is a sort of flight sim quality to the spacecraft, and that would usually mean it was like people who weren't necessarily used to flight sims or space sims found it often quite tricky to learn it. They often said they had quite a steep learning curve, which I can see what they meant. I mean, personally, I am from a sort of space sim and flight sim background, so I didn't find it that tricky, but I understand a lot of people would, because not everyone's into like space sims and stuff. But yeah, I think Odyssey may change that in terms of providing extra access, and then you want to get a spacecraft, you can do that. And then, having said, there's also not just in-game tutorials for the spacecraft and whatnot. There are so many good YouTube videos out there for beginners now that it will talk you through every phase of it. And there's even some very good streamers out there, like I think Psyche, who's quite well known for her kind of beginner orientated streaming as well. So I think she's quite good at that too. There's a few others I can't remember off the top of my head, but shout out to them. Shout out Psyche, certainly. But yeah, she's a very friendly and capable person. But with the Elite overall, it's the point I was originally going to make was you always learn something new, no matter how long you've been doing this, which is I've been doing quite a while, but you always learn something new. There's always something going on because it is kind of always evolving in one way or the other, and obviously you go through these huge spurts and accelerations of evolution every time that there's an update. Especially these sort of major updates, there's a lot to be gathered. I mean, this is almost like a scouting trip in its own right, just doing the alpha test here, because I'm gathering all kinds of interesting knowledge and information. And a lot of the things I'm doing here on this stream, I'm actually doing them for the first time within the alpha. So there is that element of sort of jeopardy as well, I suppose. I initially thought that if I put my commander out there, he would actually, in the spacesuit, he would fall straight down because of the angle, but it doesn't actually look that bad from this angle. He probably would be okay. At worst, he might fall down a little bit, but then there's a sort of lip over there before the edge, so it's quite a steep mountain overall, though. Anyway, I might fly somewhere else in a second. I'll go into a station to see if the stations have improved at all. I haven't been to an outpost yet, actually, since I've been to one of the bigger stations, but not to an outpost. Maybe I should fly to one of those and see what's up. Ah, the Cobra Mark III. Wonderful little all-round spacecraft you are. Okay, I need to locate somewhere that I can fly to. Actually, maybe the system map before the Galactic Map. Yeah, there is one over here. We'll go to this outpost to see what it's like. Being a bit slow at the moment. Again, I can't expect perfection every time. Okay. Right. I'll fly to Marakov Enterprise. I think so far what I gather is that the different stations, there is a certain amount of variation, but there is obviously still like a basic theme that the interiors are constructed around, at least in the sort of the vertical public areas that the commanders have access to. Obviously with like these little outposts, there's going to be less room in them generally compared to like the sort of city size of a full orbital station. This Cobra though will fit into anywhere. It's got a small landing pad, hasn't it? So it'll fit into any outpost with ease. Obviously the biggest ship you can fit into an outpost is a medium ship, but that's not a worry. See what else is in the system. At the moment I'm actually in solo mode within the game. The publics with the private crews haven't been carried over in the same way. I could make my own, but I'm not going to. I might try multiplayer stuff a little bit later, but they say that Alpha's not actually worked on this machine for very long, so I'm just trying to. I'm slightly behind the curve in terms of experience of the Alpha compared to a few other people, but I ordered it months ago, looking forward to it. But now it's sort of been brought to a point. Oh, thank you. I will now to dispense with you. interdiction escape route, it does move around a bit more than it did previously, so maybe they've made this harder. Not much harder, but it does seem to be slightly more unpredictable. It does seem to move around a lot more. It's still broken with relative ease, but yeah, it does seem to be changed very slightly. There seem to be some like frequently under the hood tweaks like that. Like tweaks to the software really, rather than being sort of cosmetic ones. Enterprise, here we come. Sometimes do these sort of slightly out there approaches to places to get a view or a particular angle of approach. But in this case, I don't think it's probably necessary. A slightly odd orbit there. You can see that one that sort of loops out way beyond where the moons are. Is this Marikov Enterprise itself? No, it doesn't. I don't think it is. The station is in a orbit, close orbit to the gas giant where I'm headed. Yeah, I'm taking a slightly wider orbit at the moment on purpose. A slightly closer, sorry, wider path I should say, not really in an orbit as yet. Yeah, fairly straightforward approach. No issues that I can see. Sort of bluish gas giant. Yeah, the lighting does seem to have been one of the main things that's changed, because this is a much duller looking gas giant, because obviously the starlight's much dimmer out this far in the system. But yeah, it's much less illuminated than before, which is again more realistic. I think one of the main things that was supposed to change for Odyssey is the lighting system in the main, which is good, I think. I'm liking the way it is at the moment overall. Yeah, I nearly had to drop out of Super Cruise. Into real space. Yeah, there's always the little details you notice as well in the like the transitions between things. I don't know if that's just because it's on an alpha server or what. It's just taking longer than normal. One of the larger stations by the looks of it. Yeah, the lighting shows up a lot more compared to the sort of dull gas giant. Lighting of the station, yeah, with all the little lights in the windows.
Docking request granted.
Okay. Hoping for more variation in station types and station interiors as well. I know, again, it's early days, but as always, like there's different hopes and wants from different people and different bits of the community. And, it's just easy to see how it's going. So this is a little bit jerky, this auto dock at the moment. Oh man. It's a slow frame. Yeah. And sometimes the stream does that, but in this case it is actually the game doing it. Actually, I've seen people with like the best possible setups in terms of graphics cards, etc., and memory, having this problem just because of the fact it's an alpha test and it's not perfect yet. Okay, I'm gonna go inside the station into the hangar to descend into the bowels of the ship. Well, it's not a ship, is it? It's a station. But it's not too different in the way things happen in fleet carriers, which are ships. Though they have the same facilities as stations. Just to confuse everybody. The fleet carriers essentially are just mobile stations. Okay. Welcome to Marathon Enterprise. Okay, the welcome board seems to have changed slightly as well. All the usual features, universal cartographics, mission board, contact, etc. Let's click on cartographics and sell whatever limited data I have already scanned. No, I can't sell those actually because I'm within 20 light years, which is the entire bubble, so I literally can do nothing about that. Not to worry. Kind of illustrative at this point. I don't actually need any of these, I'm just seeing what's going on. Yeah, all looks fine. I'll deal with that in a bit. This seems like a very good place to have a quick break, get some tea or do whatever you need to do, and I'll return in about 5 minutes time. See you in about, 5 or so minutes. Thank you everyone. And we're back. Okay, and welcome back to anyone who's watching this stream, and also welcome to anyone who has the first time watching this channel. I am Commander Yannick, and we are here at the Marikov Enterprise in the Namcol system. I just recently docked my Cobra Mark III here, checking out the new Elite Dangerous Odyssey Alpha, and just seeing what's changed, what's the same, what seems to be a step forward, what needs more work. Scouting out everything that's going on, really. Let's look at the mission boards and see what they have to offer. Actual mission board is what I want right now. Passenger lounge is going to be quite limited, but I might look at that in a second. Okay. Transportation support. I mean, basically mean donation, don't they? Mostly. Freelance. Freelance killing, probably, is usually what they mean. Some of them are data retrieval, though. Having said that, how many of those involve killing as well? Black box salvage. Yeah, some of these need reputation requirements anyway, so that's fine. Operations. Interesting. Yeah. Infiltrate data link. Are these on-foot missions? Or are they just like SRV related or space ones even? Let's click on one of them to have a look. Right. Incident with the data link. Okay. Looks like maybe a space-based data retrieval mission. Yeah, I might do that. Might be interesting. At least potentially, anyway. See what else there is before I decide to accept that one. Disable megaship turrets, yeah. I don't want that involves any actual combat at the moment. I just want to get the game working in a fairly sort of standard way before I do anything more complex. Infiltrate data link. There's a few of those data link ones. Okay. Let's click on these other ones. There's the usual sort of assassinate known pirates. Destroy skimmers. What's the transportation ones like? Just the usual sort of local transport missions. Expansion data courier, yeah. There's quite a few data courier jobs. Yeah, I consider taking one of those. Well, a bunch of them to get more money. They're going to the same place, then I might do that. Look, they're going to planetary locations. Vast majority, if not all, the data ones seem to be going to planetary locations, which is in itself unusual. Horizons would never really like that. I don't know if this is indicative of the way Odyssey is going to be, but soon find out, one way or the other. Yeah, as I expected, there's kind of different places across the system, so I'd have to visit many of them. I don't mind them going to the same place, literally, like same station, but it's a little annoying just to have to fly all over the place within the same system just to get these deliveries done. I might do one just for to see what happens. Pick a good a nicely paid one and one of the better paid ones. They don't pay well, but you know, the data missions. But yeah, just as a test, I suppose. That'd be a bad idea. 30,000 maybe. Where's the system it's going to anyway? HR 8631. I do not know that system off the top of my head. So let's look on the galaxy map. There's so many systems in the bubble, it's ludicrous. It'd be thousands, isn't there? You can't know them all. Yeah, it's not far away. It's not going to be, is in a 20 light year bubble. Yeah. Okay. Ah, it wasn't. Don't give us system map view, so by exploration data though. Okay. Let's have a look what the system will offer us. Some systems seem to load quicker than others. Yeah, there's a lot of these places that have landable settlements on them. Yeah, there's a great deal of them actually. Where's the furthest gas giant? That's still loading. It's not too far out, but yeah, I think I'll do that one. Get some money in some local rep or something. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Proposed landing, okay. I'll take it on then. So maybe I have to click on one of these before I start. Or just what I can click on at the end as the usual rewards for a mission. Okay. Yeah, why not? I'll accept that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's see if any other one's going to exactly the same place. Because if they're not, there's no point really. Synthetic plants. Agricultural biome. Horticultural habitat. Manufacturing installation. Yeah, these are different systems now. Okay, I'll leave it at that. There's any outfitting here if I can get the useless pulse lasers removed, because they're like class 1. It's like, what can you do with that? Tattoo someone probably? Remove a tattoo or something? Possibly that, but I do not know. Maybe nice sort of laser at a gig or something. Who knows? Right, let's see if it actually has outfitting here and maintenance, etc. There's no outfitting at all. I'll do it later, it's not a critical thing. Okay, auto launch. Was going to go on foot, but I'm taking the mission now, so I'll do some more on foot testing in the near future. Restoring the station. Maybe it's okay. Right. Let's go and see which system we're traveling to. There it is. And let's look at the system map within and find out our target and click on it. Ha, exactly. It's on one of the moons of the outermost gas giant. Fair enough. That's where it is, and that's where we will be going. Let us set course. It's interesting, the new sort of global grid system there. It looks quite different. I don't know if I like it or not, but it's definitely different. Definitely unusual. Maybe it's not that weird, it's just having used to Horizons being a certain way for so long. Horizon's been out for quite a few years, like what, 5 years or something like that? Yeah, I think so. I've got 2 jumps for this one, so... Yep. Some extra deep space flying to be done. Relatively deep space. I mean, by the standards of the alpha test, I mean, not absolutely. You don't even leave the bubble for this. Staying very much in a human inhabited space, the core of human inhabited space, pretty much. How's this coming over to you guys on the stream? Let me know, you know, what it's like in terms of, you know, quality, frame rate, etc. I say this is the first time I've streamed the alpha, so
System scan complete.
it's hard for me to judge. Sometimes a streamer will see one thing, it seems to be going fine, and it's not going fine to people out there watching the stream. Fortunately, that's just the way it is sometimes. How's everyone doing anyway? Hope you're all having a good day, wherever you are, and whatever you're doing at this time. Thank you for tuning in and being here. It's quite a funny term though, almost in this day and age, tuning in when you're not really tuning into anything. You're just connecting to a stream which is a bunch of data packets, but it's quite funny that arcane terminology or obsolete terminology sort of hangs over from previous eras because it just sounds kind of cool or sounds interesting. Not because it's really applicable anymore. Even TV is all digital anyway, so yeah, that's all about data packet transmission. I think there is some analog TVs that exist, but it's not as common. Yeah, thankfully this planet we're flying to is not too far away. It was one of the big complaints from Phase 1 of alpha testing, was that the system they're in, the furthest taxi rides were taking about 15 minutes to get to, and people got very bored. There just happens to be just a very large system. Most systems just aren't that big, and that was an extreme one, to be honest. I think the longest one I've heard of is the Alpha Centauri for Hutton Orbital. What's that, about half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that at Super Cruise? And Hutton Truckers, are a hardy bunch of people, partly that because they have to endure that frequently, flying to Hutton Orbital. Yeah. Yeah, I got a little bit of money from data currying and sort of, simple missions like this. Partly to test, partly just to maybe increase my in-game options during this alpha. I'm definitely going to sell those pulse lasers because there's no point in keeping them. They don't do anything. They just add weight and power drain from my ship. The combat value is close to 0. I don't know what every ship gets installed with them. I think every ship should just come automatically unarmed and then you install weapons as you need them because they're the most pointless weapons in the whole game. They might as well be non-existent. Yeah, not long to go now. Slowly rotating the ship around. Yeah, I'm looking out, for, as always, with the every world I come to now about the planetary detail and just details about it, really. Just sort of seeing how different it is to what I know, and if there's anything unusual about it. See, from a distance it does look a bit grainy, which is unfortunate. And close up it looks fine, but from a distance, yeah, it does look a bit grainy, doesn't it? I think that's something they need to sort out. Just looks kind of wrong. I mean, from very far away, that's not so a bad thing, because you just can't see it properly. There's no detail. But once you get like moderately close, it shouldn't look grainy anymore. Like here, it's still kind of grainy. Shouldn't really be the case, you can see some of the grids down there that the terrain is based upon. It's like, yeah, it shouldn't really be sort of resolving like this. It should resolve more organically, or look more organic by this point. And I know this is not the greatest graphic settings, and it's only medium, but this is what does low look like. If this is medium, is low even worse? Like, yeah, I mean, say close up it looks fine, but from a distance, like, it shouldn't look this bad. And now it's beginning to resolve a bit better into more organic looking structures, or more natural looking structures, I should say. Yeah, it's again something to be worked upon. So this seems to be the base that I'm heading to is possibly in a canyon, or in the side of a canyon. There's definitely some kind of depression in the ground here. There's some local craters. Didn't look too much at the details of this world, but I do wonder. Yeah, the glide's fairly straightforward. I think some of these textures are sort of like quite slow to come around, or they haven't resolved properly. Like, so they're quite sort of, the overall outline is organic, but they're kind of pixelated forms that haven't quite been processed properly yet. You can see there's all these sort of pixelated details, textures on the top that, yeah, they're just like not been resolved properly. They're okay at the previous planet that I visited. See, some of them are resolving now, I get closer, but at a distance they should not be pixelated like they are. Yeah, that's a bit better now. One's on the left. One's on the right, it's still horribly pixelated though. No weapons, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, see, this base is right surrounded by these hills. So it's protected by them to some degree, I suppose. Okay, I'm going to land here.
Docking request granted.
Why did the shield just flash though? Not been hit by anything? Not that I'm aware of anyway. Yeah, see, in front of us there, the terrain is somewhat... not the terrain itself, but the textures are somewhat pixelated, so it's not a good look. It's weird how on some world it seems to be fine, but on this one it's just not. Ducking music again. Right, here we are on the ground station. local services. Yeah, it's a bit slow to process it, isn't it? I do wonder if we're sort of reaching into peak demand of the servers as well, because local time in the UK it's coming up to 1600 hours, and obviously throughout the rest of Europe it's sort of coming into sort of peak time as well, I expect. Okay, proposed landing. Do my mission board thing. Responding very slowly today. Or at least it is right now. It was a bit better earlier, definitely. Okay. Doesn't seem to be doing anything now. Has the mission board crashed? That would be unfortunate. Hello? I don't know what's going on with it, to be honest. Oh, it seems to have come back now. Okay, that's good. Do you wonder how much this is server-related delay? It probably is. I think a lot more people actually bought the alpha than Frontier anticipated. Obviously, a certain number of them are just people who were curious. Fair few of them are content creators and reviewers, etc. But yeah, it's yeah, I've got to actually deal with my mission overload before I do anything else. Transportation. So assuming I hand in the mission the same way that I would normally do. Maybe not. Okay, in that case, how do I hand in a mission? Maybe I have to click on the side display or something, I don't know. Okay, I've got this courier mission. I've just completed it. Yeah, I'm here. How do I finish it? Doesn't seem to be the same options I would normally have for completing a mission. How do I hand it in? Maybe I go to all. Okay, well, where is it? It would be helpful to know. How do I complete the mission if I can't actually click on it? Unless this is some kind of weird bug as well. Why is there a community goal in the middle of an alpha test? That would be weird. I'm going to click on that just to see what it says. There isn't any. There is. There isn't actually. It's just the whole area is blank. Okay, let's return to the... actually, let's not return to the mission board, just in case there is some other way of handing in missions that I'm not aware of. Context, possibly? I don't think it's going to be by authority contact, but you never know. Certainly, the main mission board don't seem to be interested in it. I might as well try. Oh man, it's slow. Intel packages, codex discoveries, bounty vouchers, fines. Yes, that's the normal stuff, so that's nothing to do with it, as I suspected. So if that's the case, why on earth can't I just hand in... I'm in the right place, aren't I? Post landing. This is the right spot. Yeah, I'll double check that. Yeah, but no, once in a while things go awry and you end up in the... Yep, fair post landing. That's where I am. You receive reward upon delivery. It's like, well, I am here, so... where do I hand it in? Because it sure ain't in the normal place. Okay, maybe the mission board hasn't updated itself yet. I do not know. This is somewhat bizarre, actually. I'm assuming it's a bug, that it's just like for some reason I can't hand in the mission. But I'll try again at the mission board. Okay. It's not in completed missions. I did a transportation mission, so... What's this guy? That's not it. Is there something I'm missing, or is it just a bug? Click on all to see what's there. There's always, in Horizon at least, there's always an option to hand these things in. Yeah, there doesn't appear to be one. This is strange. Anyone knows something that I don't? Do let me know. I'm probably going to end up just losing reputation, aren't I? Because I can't hand in that damn mission. Oh well, such is the way of things sometimes. Because the whole thing, it was just called like a courier delivery mission, wasn't it? It was a data delivery mission. It wasn't anything complicated or weird that I had to do. I don't get it, I really don't. Maybe I'll relog and see what happens. That's always worth a try in any circumstance, I suppose. Yeah, I'll do that. See what goes on when I relog. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way further to get it done, because I've come to the place they told me to come to. You know, what am I supposed to do? Oh, you've got to laugh, you really do. I mean, that's the other thing about any kind of test, whether the alpha, beta, or whatever. Just take it seriously enough to find things that are wrong, or, you know, for constructive criticism, etc., positive feedback, well, negative feedback, whatever feedback. But at the same time, don't take it personally, or don't take it too seriously, especially not being paid to do it, which I'm certainly not being paid to do this. Obviously, Frontier does have its own tester stuff in-house. I'm sure they're very, very, very busy around this time of year, especially with this project. Okay, let's go back to solo playing. Hope that'll fix the problem. I'll look at what it says again for the courier, because these should be the simplest missions to complete of all. You just go to a place and you hand it in. It is literally that simple. There's nothing complex about it. At least it shouldn't be complicated anyway. It should be straightforward. And thank you for those of you who just joined us. I'm Commander Yannick, and we are here on a base within the 20 light year bubble of the Elite Dangerous Odyssey Alpha test. And it's all rather slow at the moment. Everything is proceeding at a very sedate pace. Yeah. See, I don't have the option actually to go inside the base at this one, like I do with some ground stations. I do Yeah, so there's no sort of elevator that takes you down into a hangar. You just sit on the surface. Local services, as you do. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I expect there is probably a high server load because everything's taking longer than it was earlier today or when I first tried it properly late last night. Yeah, the whole process is just taking a very long time. This is not exactly making for the most sort of riveting viewing, I must admit, but yeah, while it does its thing, I'm gonna have a look on my side panel to see what it says. I expect nothing particularly out of the ordinary. Yeah, I've come to the right place. I've come to within a reasonable time frame. All boxes are ticked in that regard. I have made no errors. No mistakes on my part. Yeah, there's some few other planet-side bases in this system, but they're not particularly of interest to me right now. Okay. Yeah, the whole, even the animation seems to be very slow today. I do suspect that the alpha server was never supposed to have these kind of loaders being put on it right now. We always say that every man and his dog, half jokingly, has actually got an alpha license and is trying to get into the server at the same time. Oh well, what I can do is proceed as I normally do. Okay, let's. Alright, it has actually loaded now. Okay. Go to all. Infiltrate the data link. Not today, thank you. Not today. Maybe at some future point I will do that, but not today. Yeah, I'm not doing a data link. I just want to deliver my courier things and get away. My courier data. Oh, this is kind of sad in a way. I think the other missions look kind of intriguing actually, but not. Yeah, I just want to finish off my simple mission. It's like, please let me finish off my simple courier mission. I'm not asking for much. I think it's a bug, isn't it? I haven't actually looked up since yesterday. On the Frontier forums where people are reporting different bugs. At that point I just talked about, I did report a lower frame rate since the fix happened yesterday evening. Although I've not reported anything else. I don't know if anyone else is reporting these bugs to do with, missions not just appearing at all, really. We're taking the mission and it not being accepted at the other end. I don't really know what else to do beyond that. I don't think this place has outfitting, does it? What I will do is I'll fly somewhere else and do a little bit of outfitting, and then I will try and come back and see if I can do it again. Maybe relogging it, not just relogging it, but coming back in the game would actually be a viable move. Let's have a look what else there is in the system. A station ideally with some outfitting, so I can improve this Cobra Mark III. I just mainly want to get rid of the pulse lasers actually. Oh yeah, there's a station over here. I'll just go there. That's the easiest thing. Cool. Taking me passenger missions yet. I don't have the ship for that. I'll refuel it. I see the skimmer hanging around over there. Okay, I'm going to auto-launch. Okay, let's rotate and fly away. Clear the planet's gravity first and stop being massive. Okay. Super cruise away. It's not been a bad stream, to be honest. Most things have worked apart from the courier mission for whatever bizarre reason is not working. It doesn't just show the planet its gravitational field like it does in Horizon, which is slightly surprising actually. I'm just so used to it. It shows a little red line that probably shows the strong gravitational field nearby. They call it market. Makes it sound like a kind of a fancy sort of country market, doesn't it? Yeah, possibly, possibly not. It's all good though. It's all good. What I intend to do is, for Elite, do is definitely a combination of alpha and regular sort of Horizons sort of streams in the near future. I might even alternate them depending what developments are within Elite and how this sort of alpha is developing. Because obviously with Horizons, it's like there's a lot more sort of scope to just get things done. But I'll play it by ear in that regard. But my usual streaming schedule is going to be like 4 days a week, some kind of Elite, and one other day, Monday to Friday, usually Friday itself, being another game called Tenant, which is quite fun. Quite different to Elite, but it's fun. This week I've substituted the Tenants for Friday for doing the Alpha, because it just seemed appropriate. I just got the Alpha working now, so why not just do it? I've done mostly Horizon streaming this week because I couldn't get the Alpha to work properly. But now that it is, I might as well do something. But yeah, I've put... I'm still doing my sort of Tenant stream, but I'll do that tomorrow at the same time. That will be 1300 UTC, same as in-game time UTC. So, for example, the in-game time now is 15:09. But yeah, it's it makes sense to do it that way. I don't usually intend to stream that much at the weekend, but I will sometimes do bonus streams either at the weekend or on a weeknight. But my core streaming is always going to be between approximately sort of 1300 UTC. Yeah, for a couple of between 2 to 3 hours after that. So yeah, within that kind of window. That's my sort of regular streaming schedule from here on in. Anything else I say is a bonus. And I will do some bonus streams, definitely. But I say, I will be definitely on at 1300 tomorrow if anyone wants to join me then. For those of you who aren't aware what the Tenants is, it's a bit like The Sims, but it's like more sort of specialised in that bit. The sort of whole gameplay is kind of pretty similar. So it concentrates on, I wouldn't say being a slumlord, but something kind of close to it. So it is kind of funny. It's supposed to be kind of comical, I think, to some degree. Like going to people's houses and because they've got rat infestation and get rid of the rats and things. Because the rats are comically large, it's kind of funnier than it sounds, but it is definitely comical. So part of the reason I play it is a very different game, a very different change to Elite. Not that you can't have fun in Elite, you definitely can be comical in Elite, but it's a very different sort of thing. Ah, gas giant with rings. Here we are. Actually, is it a gas giant with rings? I don't think it is. It looks like a water lord or an earth lord, doesn't it? Ooh, that rare thing. Yeah, it looks like an earth-like with rings. Actually, I did spot that on the map, then I forgot about it because I was too busy talking about what I was going to do. But yeah, that's a nice picture, definitely. That's always the thing. I think also you're an explorer and Elite, you're always looking out for the best picture. I think a lot of people take pictures anyway, even if they're not explorers, but especially explorers always have their eye on what's like a good shot to take of where they've been. Most people develop that skill. What else you do as an explorer, almost everyone seems to have a sort of eye for photography. Here's all the expeditions I've ever been on, well, the vast majority anyway, you have photographer as one of the roles, because it's quite a popular one. I usually have that one, so yeah, I think most people do. Kind of comes with the territory, really. You're going out exploring things, seeing new places, deep in the galaxy, document the cool places, yeah. That's always the way. And rightly so. I'll probably bringing the stream to a close in the next 5 to 10 minutes. This is the bigger station.
Incoming mission critical message.
What does he want with the courier thing? It's like, I'm not giving bonus, I can't even get to the damn place. Oh, go away, seriously. Okay, let's dock. Ah, that's nice. The docking computer allows you to be a little bit lazy. Please don't crash into the station.
You are go for automated docking. Enjoy the ride, Commander.
I thought he was going to crash into it for a second. So close. That's what the shields are for. So bumping into stations and other ships. Or ground, depending on where you are. That was kind of funny, actually. For a second I'm going to have to think manual in a second he's going to crash into the bloody station. Oh, damn. Potentially a very comical moment, that one. Like centimetres away from collision with the station. It probably would have just taken a few rings off the shield, to be honest, but it would have been amusing. So, yeah. Yeah, the frame rate's not great here, is it? Does seem to be variable generally within the alpha, but inside this station it could be a lot better than it is. Still, let's see what wonderful facilities this place has to be available. Okay, local services, let's go.
Touchdown sequence complete. You may disembark when ready. Good to have you, Commander.
Yeah, actually, let's refuel and go within the hangar. And then to the starport services. That's more like it. That's a bit better. in the way of services. Okay, outfitting. Okay, loadout. I'm going to store modules anyway in this. Yeah, here we are. Actually, that's the wrong. Clicked on the wrong thing. Pulse laser. Yes. They're fixed anyway, so. Oh, I can't sell it for money. I don't want it anyway. Maybe I'll just store them as modules. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. Yeah, module storage. Okay. I'll have to actually take them off first. Then I thought I could just. See, this is slightly different to the standard Horizon setup, so I have to click on them to then save them as a module, store module. Okay, I'll store them as modules. Yeah. Store them both as modules. Cool. I don't like fixed lasers anyway, I prefer gimbaled. Right, utility mounts. I always tend to go around, you know, having a sort of good defensive weaponry, but it doesn't seem to have any here, which is a shame. Unfortunate. Core internal. Core internal systems. Lightweight analyzed power plant. Not the worst, it's not all D-rated. Yeah. Ship isn't too bad actually, it's not the worst. Now this is where it gets interesting, the optional external. I've got some cargo racks, 4C shield generator. Probably more powerful than it needs to be actually. But I won't worry about that right now. The cargo capacity is quite reasonable for this size of ship. With detailed scanner, got my supercruise assist and docking computer. Advanced planetary approach. I assume that probably includes the advanced landing computer, unless that's the docking computer anyway. I do not know. Vehicle bays. I'm going to have to get one. Okay. I will do so. See what options I have to purchase the vehicle bay. SRV, certainly. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to get rid of the existing ones. Okay, ship loader, yeah. Right, I will definitely get rid of cargo racks. I'll store the module for now. In its place. Planetary vehicle hangar. Yes. Okay. Go for that one. And now with my SRV bay, that's lovely. What else can I fit into this that would be useful? Fuel scoop's not that useful because I'm not going very far. It's barely even worth it in this area. I think I'll leave that for now. It looks reasonable. It's not a bad loadout. I could technically increase the size of the cargo rack though. Do I need that? I'll leave it for now. I'm not that bothered. I can't really go anywhere anyway. There's only 20 light year bubble I can fly in. So yeah, it's not chronically important, or critical importance I should say. Okay. See what other services. Yeah. No, I will get an SRB in a minute. I'm just looking what else I have. think you can buy much. Purchase ships. Because of money, you're limited to what you can buy. Hauler, sidewinder, etc. Ooh, buy a Viper maybe. Haha. Viper Mark 3. Won't let me go any further for some reason. It doesn't matter anyway, I don't intend to buy a new ship just yet. So I've also got a Sidewinder, but it says I only own 0 ships, but it shows the Sidewinder being in existence. I don't quite get that actually. Can I sell that Sidewinder? Oh, I can't sell it for any money. That's a shame. I would love to have sold it for a pretty penny. Well, not really a penny at all, but not much money, even in Horizons. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to outfit a couple of SRVs in this one. Okay. Vehicle bays, good. Yeah, so the layout is a bit different from Horizons. And I'm going to buy myself a lovely Scarab. And it's only got one anyway it can bring, so that's fine. It's not a huge amount on sale here anyway. So I've done that. Could go into the station, but I think I'll leave that for another stream, probably. Yeah, I may try and go back to the courier run a bit later, but yeah, that didn't go well, did it? It's not even acknowledging that there was a courier mission to be had, but that's probably a bug worth reporting. Still, overall, I'm gonna say that I'm pleased, more pleased than disappointed. I think, yeah, there's more right with it than wrong. I'd say as a basis for building a better game with more opportunities, more capabilities, more things, just generally. Absolutely, Odyssey is looking pretty good actually. But as I say, it is still, and I can't emphasize this enough, a work in progress. It very much is a work in progress. It's there's so many things to be sorted out still, but this is the result, obviously, of putting it out there as an alpha test. It's bound to be in a sort of state that is only semi-usable, or there's going to be some flaws that need fixing. But even in beta tests, even if you've got like a 99.9% ready and to go sort of product, there's still going to be some bugs somewhere, some flaws. I mean, even like, you know, Horizons has still got bugs years after release, and looks like they're probably never going to fix them now, because the way that Odyssey is going to sort of redefine the way that the whole thing is. I mean, obviously people who haven't bought Odyssey aren't going to get access to it at all, but I think even like the planets within Horizons are going to be redefined and remodeled by the new planetary modeling system. So even if you don't have Odyssey is actually going to impact upon you, just as Horizons modifications impacted the base game in turn. So it's a knock-on effect really, but kind of for the better, I think. Still, it's been a fun little stream, this one. Thank you for everyone who's watched, everyone who's participated in the chat, and especially everyone who's given me a follow today. I'm very grateful for that. But say, if you like what I do, please follow. It's free and easy to do that. If you really like what I do, please give me a donation. You can see in the about of my channel. But whatever you do, Fly safe, fly dangerous, whatever you do, keep having fun. I've been Commander Yannick, and I will see you all out there.